Supply chain planning trends for 2022. Topic which we have chosen actually for today is extremely interesting. It is extremely relevant considering the fact that new year, new 2022, is actually, guys, just in 2 weeks away from now. So at the same time, it's intriguing, and at the same time, it's nice, it's beautiful. What will bring the future? What are we taking with us from the past, and what to expect in 2022? How will look the industry of supply chain? What new trends will we discover? Can we start preparing today for those new trends? And actually, these and other questions we will discuss today with our experts in supply chain and logistics. And I do believe we are ready for next step, and I will introduce our experts who will discuss those questions with us today. Just give me 1 second. So, our first speaker or panelist is Rodrigo Alfaro. He is supply chain consultant. Actually, I forgot to mention one thing, that we always invite experts from different countries, different continents. And today we have US, we have Mexico, South Africa, and I'm in Turkey, so it's both Asia and Europe. So again, we have a very multinational event today. So, Rodrigo, let's come back to you and introducing you properly. So, he is supply chain consultant. He is very enthusiastic and passionate about supply chain and operation management topics. He is founder of Integrated Supply Chain Management Solution in 2018. And what is beautiful, he has been involved as associate instructor at APICS. So, he is extremely experienced, and I do believe it will be interesting to listen to his opinion. Our next speaker is Igor Eisenblätter. He's also supply chain consultant. He has certificates from APICS, and he is CEO of Business View Consulting, and he is specializing in business streamlining, supply chain planning, logistics, and business digitalization. Thank you for joining us, Igor. One more speaker is Alex Koshulko, actually Dr. Alex Koshulko. He's also co-founder at GMDH Streamline. He's leading supply chain and planning expert with more than 10 years of experience in demand forecasting, inventory planning, and optimization, US. And one more speaker, Nahin Sanchez. He is senior business and supply chain consultant with over 15 years of experience in multiple industries like retail, manufacturing, consumer, transportation, beverage, and government. He is great in transforming customer strategies into business results, and he's joining us from Mexico. Today, I will be moderator of this interesting discussion. My name is Natalie Lopachak-Ekshi. I'm VP of Partnership at GMDH Streamline, and actually what my passion is, I consolidate supply chain experts from around the world. So, gentlemen, thank you for joining us. And before we move actually to our discussion, and before I will ask you to share your opinion, I will also want to share with our attendees a couple of things. And this is that most question, of course, I will address to our invited speaker. However, I really want this meeting to be a place where everyone can share their opinions. So from time to time, I will ask if you would love to share your opinion and to add some comments. At that moment, please make sure to unmute yourself, okay? And again, share your experience, your opinion, your idea. Otherwise, when our speakers are having their speech, please make sure that you are muted, just again to show respect to all of us. As I already mentioned, our discussion will finish sharp before 10 a.m. New York time. So let's start. Are you ready? I hope
we are ready.
Okay, beautiful. I hope so. So let's move forward and let's open this discussion with a very general, but at the same time, core question. And I would love all speakers, all panelists to respond to it step by step, okay? So what is your belief? What is your opinion? What are core supply chain trends which we are supposed to expect in 2022? Rodrigo, will you start?
Yeah, thank you, Natalie, for the invitation and all the GMDH Streamline team. So I think for 2022, it's going to be very important to connect a little bit more from a human perspective. I think that's going to be a trend. Talking specifically about the planning processes, I think also we need to look a little bit on what we have already. We have many continuous improvement or philosophies that can help us to build on the future, right? So we cannot put just all the things that we have learned aside and look for something new, right? So for what is happening right now, and a way to solve the issues is make sure that we are building a toolkit for the different professionals so they can access to that information depending on the situation that they are facing. So they can use any tool from the lean manufacturing, for example, the value stream mapping, something that should be a must in all the supply chain management professionals. People need to learn to see the flow of materials from the beginning to the end. And whenever you can do that, you can identify the pain points on the supply chain and be sure that you can put the right strategies in terms of inventory levels on each point on the supply chain, right? So we have some other tools like all the CPIM framework from APICS. We can't forget what we learned there. We learned to see also what are the different manufacturing environments, and we need to think that we are not dealing with unique manufacturing environments in our organizations, like the engineer to order, make to order, assembly to order, make to stock. All these manufacturing environments are moving according to the demand and are moving also as well to the product life cycle. So we need to put the right production strategy, inventory strategy, and put the right size of our capacity depending on how the demand is moving across these different environments. And also we cannot put aside the planning hierarchy that we learned there. How can we connect the business strategy with the execution of operations? And this is something that has been very painful these days with the current sanitary situation, with the pandemic. People or organizations are not flexible enough to adjust their strategies as we are facing new challenges. So we need to create adaptive systems. And that's why I'm a highly advocate for the demand-driven approach, because the demand-driven adaptive enterprise model helps organizations to work with the relevant ranges. So we need to put in place these relevant ranges from an operational, tactical, and strategic position or perspective to make sure that we are having the right processes on each level. And we used to think that the strategical range should be from 3 years to 15 years, right? Because we need to create this vision, this mission. But what we learned with the pandemic is that strategic range could be like in 1 month or 2 months. So we need to put a flexible process that can help us to adjust our strategies as things are moving. And it's important to consider this because we have seen that from the moment that we started with the pandemic, every month there is something different happening in the supply chain. So we need to think about this model, look at it, and use all the rest of the tools that we have to be able to deal with these issues. So it's very important, like we were mentioning, from a human perspective, and I think this is also a trend that could come in 2022, is how are we closing the gap? How are we supporting our employees with the right tools, with the right education. So I think 2022 should be a year that we can take advantage, and maybe we can do a little bit of pause on the beginning of the year and make sure that we are providing with the tools and education to the people so they can face the challenges as we move forward, because we can see that every time we will have these kind of disruptive events. So that's it pretty much.
So actually this is improving resilience by investing in team and technology, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Just to summarize. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing your ideas. Gentlemen, maybe Igor, would you like to continue with trends in 2022? What do you believe are going to be trends in supply chain?
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I believe that taking the pandemic situation into account, as Rodrigo mentioned, is very, very important. One thing is crystal clear, and I think the supply chain needs to really come to grips with the concept of there is no more old normal. There is nothing normal anymore. Things are going to be extremely dynamic from here on in, only becoming more and more dynamic as the world changes, as things begin to evolve and change and grow. This obviously is going to bring a huge amount of pressure to bear. The future that I see is to be very much more aware of what our demand is actually expecting of us. In other words, what's the customer's expectations? What are his real needs? Demands aren't only in terms of the materials required, whether these be raw materials, whether it be finished product, whatever, but it is also what is his needs in terms of getting the material to him? When does he require it? How much of it does he require? All these typical JIT type thinking. We've got to be a lot more sensitive to this. One of the big things that we've also noticed is the rapid change in demand in respect to how do we want things. The trending change within the world has shown a great movement. The biggest thing that I think we've got to consider here is how will that affect our planning? Demand is I think the only thing that we've really got to hang on to at the moment. Trend is a variable and it's constantly moving. Until such time as we reach a more stable, balanced way of doing business, I think with the pandemic, it's moving things around for us. It's certainly waking us up to a whole bunch of new factors. With the demand, we need to understand it's not only a demand on inventory supply, but it's also that our inventory demand on manufacturing and our vendors or suppliers. How do they respond to it? So now we sit with a situation that is typically, we need to know the customer's customer, we need to know the supplier's supplier. That is becoming more and more obvious now. How do we do this? How, in fact, are we going to manage the huge amount of information that's coming our way in order to be more agile, be more capable? Into this mix, of course, is the very important people concept. With this dynamic environment, are our people going to be dynamic enough in their approach to doing business for us? A lot has happened in the past where we have gotten fairly used to doing a supply chain in a certain way. What we need to consider is agility. Not normal common or garden agility from what we've become accustomed to, but agility that is edging on the extreme. Can people accept this kind of change? Often we find that people find it difficult to accept change. We're all, to some degree, comfortable in what we've been doing, how we've been doing it, and so on. Can we change easily on the fly? That remains to be seen. So the real matter here is how can we make it easier for people to perform their functions with the changes as they may occur? The only way to do that is to have the right information in the hands of the people that can make decisions on the fly, which also means that we need to start considering, do decisions only get made at management level? Or can we move those decisions further down and closer towards the coalface, where the real problem is perhaps more understood than at higher levels, where possibly a new way of thinking can be brought in. So we are looking at a very wide range of interactivity. All of this goes all the way back to, do we understand the demand, and are we agile enough to keep up with the changes in demand? Thank you.
Thank you so much. Actually, really interesting to hear to your opinions. Gentlemen, before I ask our third and fourth speaker to share their opinion, right now I'm actually just addressing to attendees. Can you please write in comment actually a geography, countries where you're from? It's really interesting to understand who is listening to us, okay? So please, while you're doing it, I will invite Nahind to join us and to share his opinion.
Yes, Natalie, thank you. So complementing or extending a little bit the comment from Igor and Rodrigo as well, I think supply chains resilience, and with all this changes with the pandemic, companies need to start changing in a different way. What do I mean by that? It's to start collaborating between all the areas of the company, sales, supply chain, marketing, in order to understand what is happening on the market and with the consumers as well. And I think it's important to take the advantage of these new technologies with all this information and data that is creating in a real time. This is going to be a really good moment to start analyzing the data, incorporating into our decision making. But at the end, we need to start collaborating with all the areas of the company. I think it's the most important in order to make better decisions. The other thing that I would like to bring into the table is we need to incorporate new technologies or new processes to the companies. Stop working as silos or working with Excel sheets. I found many companies keep continuing working with Excel sheets in PowerPoints, or the way to collaborate is by email. I think it's no longer a good practice. So I think we need to start incorporating these new technologies that help to collaborate and make decisions in conjunction. I think we need to change our mindset into that kind of situations.
I totally agree. I always say that calculator and Excel is not enough for companies to compete. And actually, if you're talking about nowadays market, right? So definitely, you're absolutely right. So I will ask our fourth speaker to join us. Alex, would you like to share with us your opinion about actually supply chain trends in 2022? Will you share with us something interesting about digital technologies?
Thanks, Natalie. It was great pleasure. Well, first of all, I would like to say I completely agree with Rodrigo that visibility of end-to-end flow will be very important when we have such a disruption caused by COVID. We need to understand where are we moving. So if we understand where are we moving, then we can make the right decisions. So I would predict that end-to-end visibility will be a major trend in supply chain planning. And to achieve that, companies will need to start start implementing more digital solutions. So they need their communication to be organized and digitalized. So that's a very important trend for 2022, I think. Other trends that we see include transition of a decision center from regions to central office. That's very interesting. Before COVID, we've seen many companies acted as an independent group of, even a holding that has a number of companies in a group, usually delegated decisions on what to purchase when to their branches. And now we see a trend of centralizing those decisions, decision-making process in a central office, and push strategy takes over pull strategy. So that's another interesting trend. I think that's all I wanted to share.
Thank you so much. Actually, it looks like demand is really, really important, and each speaker, each of you mentioned it somehow. So let me move to the next question report for you. Very often, and again, demand, yes, really was mentioned several times. At the same time, demand as a component of company strategy is evolving as well. And right now we can find information not only about demand, but about terms like demand sensing, demand shaping. Would you love to elaborate on that as well? Who wants to continue? Alex, let's start with you, and after that,
demand sensing and demand shaping. Okay. Well, demand sensing is usually considered taking data from the last mile and including it into planning process. And we used to forecast demand once a month, sometimes once a week, but mostly once a month. And if we have any outstanding events, we will know about that much later, like in 20 days and 15 days. And that can be critical. So demand sensing allows us to analyze POS data and make our decisions rapidly. So it's an important technology. Of course, in a fast-changing world that we observe right now, anything that makes us faster is a good strategy. So implementing of demand sensing surely will help. Thanks.
Thank you. Igor, would you love to add something actually about demand sensing and demand shaping? How important are these actually concepts in supply chain right now?
I think demand sensing is becoming very much more important, particularly if you look at the e-commerce world. Things are happening rapidly there. Business is moving more and more into e-commerce. More and more things can be purchased through the internet. But at the same time, trends are tremendously influenced by social media, as well as the adaptation to what's happening in various countries regarding the pandemic. As a result, we need to consider how much do we know about what's happening in other places? How much do we know about how this is going to influence the thinking and the potential purchasing characteristics coming from various areas? So suddenly we're not just looking at our own small backyard. We need to actually become more sensitive to the wider scheme of things, to the wider scheme of business. And to demand sensing would also therefore become very important, whereas all the way back into your warehousing environment. Do you have the right equipment in the right place? Have you actually got the right slotting strategy in place? to actually move your materials out as quickly as possible, because demand is high for certain things. And as a result of this high demand, are you able to really have the right warehouse layout? And therefore, demand sensing is going to also affect all other parts of your business, because certain products are going to be inexpensive to supply. Others are going to be less inexpensive. It's going to be more expensive to supply. Is your financial environment going to be able to support the demand of your environment that you are supporting in the world? So I think that demand sensing is going to have ever more important structure in it. That I think is really the essence of what I'd like to say.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much. Thank you. Really, I feel myself so fortunate, actually, so happy having this conversation, because again, we can always learn more. It's extremely, I'm extremely thankful to all of you for sharing your ideas, really. And let's move to the next question. And before reading it, I want to share with you one beautiful thing. We have only second panel discussion. So right now we have second one, but we already received requests from attendees regarding topics which they want us to discuss, which I believe is beautiful. So, dear friends, let me read the question from our audience, which they sent to us with email and they want us to discuss today. Question is next. Can you please discuss balancing of supply and demand with emphasis in transportation and forecasting? So, transportation and forecasting, supply chain and demand. So, can I please, Rodrigo, ask you to respond to this question? How important actually is to balance all of these aspects?
Well, I think it's the main reason why we are here, right? That's the core business of the supply chain management professionals. And this balancing act will be, I guess, summarized in one specific objective that will be protecting and promoting the flow of relevant materials and relevant information. So connecting with the demand sensing question, how we are going to be able to create this balance between demand and supply. Well, I think it's a kind of a utopic to think about that balance, but what we can do is to create the buffers needed to support and to enable that stability in the supply chain. So in terms of the demand sensing, going back to the relevant ranges, in each one of these operational, tactical, and strategical ranges, what we are going to do with the demand management processes is to find that range that we will need to have, and what will be the trigger for us to to make a decision related to increasing or decreasing capacity, right? So in terms of this demand management process, we need to think about these other aspects. The first one is how demand is presenting to us over the time. So the first thing in terms, I see everything in terms of process before going into technology. So the first process is what we need to do is look at our order management cycle, right? What is happening from the moment that we receive an order until we deliver. So this is the actual demand that we're receiving. This is the true information that we can make actionable, right? So this is the first thing that from a demand management perspective, we need to analyze and to see what is happening on that ordering process. The second process will be on the CRM, or customer relationship management. And it's not, again, about just a software. The CRM is about getting closer to your customer, like Igor was expressing as well. You need to know who you are doing business with, why this company or these customers are making business with you. And the closer you get to them, you will be able to know better what is the requirement or what is the nature behind the changes on the demand. So it's all about communication, right? And behind that, it comes the forecasting. Once that you don't have orders, once that you don't have further information from the customers, then you need to use that input in your forecast. That will increase your accuracy on the forecasting. So once we have this information, we will be able, by looking at our supply chain, where we are going to position those buffers. Will be, again, remember, buffers will be in terms of capacity, inventory, or time. So we need to find where to position these buffers that will help us to act as absorption of variability, because this is something that we need to protect our demand, right, and our process against variability of the demand and variability of the suppliers or the processes that we have. So we need to put these buffers to protect and to ensure that we are mitigating all these disruptions. And lastly, will be having the capacity of being able to change these buffers from one point to another. Because if we think about a product that one day could be a product that we are considering a make to order or engineer to order, as demand is increasing, we can think about some technological items, right? So today is kind of a low demand, but from one day to another, this could jump into a very high volume. So we need to find ways to change and do this switch from one speed to the other faster. So I think that's one way that we'll be able to create a little bit that balance that we are looking in supply chain.
Thanks. Actually, thank you so much for sharing it. Before moving on, guys, let me share with you our geography, right? Today we have attendees joining from us from Shanghai, India, States, Ukraine, Germany, El Salvador, Israel, Turkey, China, Mexico, Colombia, Saudi Arabia, Canada. So actually many countries, guys. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining. And so all planet actually is interested in supply chain, and I'm happy because we are moving to next question. And this question is about sustainability, right? So from one side, we know that sustainability is a trend all around the world in different industries. From actually another side, we know that right now we are having crisis in logistics, in supply chain, and each crisis means usually only one thing. System works inefficiently, and in order to move forward, the system has to change. And we do see this crisis right now, right? So what I would love to discuss is sustainability supply chain. And how do you believe that this is new approach and vision which can help us move forward, or you believe that sustainability and this eco-friendly concept is not something which is which we can apply to business? I would really love to to hear your opinion, and I do believe that each opinion actually could be actually has a right to exist, right? So let's discuss the sustainability. Is it possible to have sustainable supply chain? Alex, let's start with you.
Okay. In my opinion, sustainable, agile are very close concepts, and agility or sustainability comes from the ability to foresee any disruption. So I would say that we need to forecast both statistically and analytically, and that will make our supply chain sustainable and prepare it for any disruption.
Thanks. Actually, close to the point. Thank you so much. Igor, would you like to add something?
Thank you. Yes. I look at the sustainability as being a network of capabilities. If I can perhaps put it this way, it's like the net, where everything is tied together and there are nodes of excellence that speak to other nodes. If we don't have a system whereby we can actually short circuit capability on understanding what is needed, when it's needed, and not a day later or an hour later, if we can find a way in which we can move information to where it's needed as quickly as possible, This comes all the way back to communication between groups of people, various functionalities. And the only way that that communication can happen again is looking at new technologies. How are we going to leverage the existing technologies that we have to make these decisions quicker and then to spread the result of these decisions where they need to go? One of the big things that I see is that, again, too much paperwork, too much modern snail mail, i.e. email. And we need to look at utilizing things like, for example, Slack, to really get information out where it's needed. If we can't do this, sustainability is going to become more and more difficult. Things are happening much too fast, and we need to be ready for it as it comes, when it comes, which also means that the data that we are getting needs to be as close to real time as we can get it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Naheen, what about you on sustainability? Do you believe in this concept in supply chain?
Yes, definitely. And it brings me again to the collaboration. So in order to a company to be sustainable, they need to have a good communication. Like, for example, on the logistics, in order to be sustainable and to supply a product to a specific customer, you need to understand what is the cost to serve to this customer. You need to have all the data and run different scenarios to understand what are the costs of expediting a product, for example, or taking a different routes. So in this way, you have a more visibility or what is happening on the entire supply chains, and you are optimizing each of the process, and you are optimizing also cost. And another thing that I think it's important now with the pandemic is to incorporate risk management processes. You know, to have contingency plans when a disruption comes into any situation. So I think the companies need to incorporate those elements in order to be sustainable.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much. Thank you. Dear friends, I would love actually to give opportunity to speak actually to our attendees, just to listen to you, because I know that everyone who is joining us today, all of you are connected to supply chain somehow. Either you are actually you are inside of industry, so you know what's happening, problems you're facing right now. Would you love to share with us again what you are seeing in your country, in your industry? It doesn't matter, you're working probably maybe like pharmacy, maybe food and beverage, maybe fashion. Would you love actually to share your opinion right now? I would love to have 3-4 minutes actually for attendees to join this conversation. Dear friends, would you love to? Okay, let me actually ask questions. Dear Shital, I know that you're in supply chain in India. Would you love to join us? Would you love to share what's happening in India right now? What trends do you see in supply chain?
Hey, Natalie, thanks for having me here. So a few of the things that we notice in India, that the country in itself is taking the supply chain function seriously. I mean, till now, everything was happening in Excel. People were comfortable, but we see a digital wave going on in the supply chain function. That's a positive sign for India as a country, that the supply chain function is the first and primemost function in the whole sector. So we see people giving a lot of importance on demand planning, getting the right demand through various models. People are trying to learn and understand the various techniques so that the forecast is improved. And of course, a lot of and people here are pretty smart, I would say. I mean, they were doing everything in Excel, and that was a good thing. But then now taking the entire supply chain function so seriously that we have seen the entire end-to-end, supply chain functions becoming completely digitized and less dependent on manual error. And people are also trying to capture the various trends that are happening, so that things that we talk about, demand sensing, demand-driven approach. So people are trying to understand and get to those details as well, trying to capture the parameters which would have an impact on our demand and ultimately the supply chain function as such. The analytics way, for that matter, in the sense, trying to analyze and get the insights quickly, faster, and automating all of those reports related to supply chain planning. That's happening, and that's taking a big shape as of now. So some of that's where India is progressing. That's what we have seen in the past 1.5 years now.
Mm-hmm. So digitalization. Thanks actually for sharing that. Thank you. And actually, this brings us to the next question I would really love to discuss with you, which is digital twins and dynamic simulation. Many different experts actually are talking about these things right now. So digital twins, what is that actually? And just in short, in a couple of words, these are new trends in the world of digital technologies, and it can be called as virtual copy of living or non-living entity. And this is extremely important for different industries, and definitely supply chain is not an exception. Can I please ask you to elaborate a little bit about this technology and what it can bring to supply chain? Alex, I would love you to start this conversation.
Thanks, Natalie. I've been following development of this concept for quite a while. Interestingly, it was introduced in 2010. And that's quite recently. Can you imagine, can you remember any other definition that was established as recently, except COVID maybe? I can't. Yeah, and at the first glance, it looks like this is just a simulation or maybe a model in Excel of your business. But actually, it's a complete concept that involves a number of properties and ideas. And I like it because digital twin in supply chain is some detailed simulation model of actually your supply chain that uses real-time data and snapshots to forecast supply chain dynamics. And a new idea here is real-time. Real-time analytics is something really new that was not possible. Computing facilities were not as developed, but at the moment, you can create a complete model of your business that you can run in real time and investigate different what-if scenarios and see how your supply chain will look like in the future, almost in real time. That's actually amazing. And benefits of this technology are obvious, and it's easy to predict what benefits are. It's availability of products and customer service. That's what we all target. And this is actually a very interesting concept that is new, but will be trending in 2022, I think.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much. Thank you. And actually, this brings us to one more trend I saw from Deloitte, and they're talking about near real-time scenario planning. Igor, would you love to add something actually about this topic, about digital twins?
Yes, thank you. I think digital twins is probably the most exciting part of modern business that we can consider. I had a very short looked around and tried to find a very short description that really makes digital twinning clear. And I found something on the net which I'd like to read to you. A digital twin is a virtual representation of a system that spans an expected period that is updated from real-time data using simulation, machine learning, and reasoning to assist with decision-making. So even in this high-speed way of getting information, the support of machine learning and artificial intelligence, I think we shouldn't lose sight of one aspect. That is the ability of the human reasoning. There are still aspects of human reasoning which are absolutely essential in whatever we do. Now, digital twinning, I think, is as big a thing as an ERP system, in my opinion. In fact, it's going to start covering a lot of the aspects that I think are left out of ERPs. It's going to start tying together the entire resource environment that a company has to offer in order to support its client. That means all the way from transporting goods to the client, all the way back to understanding what the demand is at your supplier's position. It needs to take into account all the resources that you have in your company. In other words, one of the most important ones, obviously, is cash. What does your cash situation look like at certain points in time? And can that cash resource support the demands that you are actually forecasting or planning for? Then we need to look at, for example, if you're in manufacturing, the machines that you've got. Are you going to be able to have enough machines available to support the demand in the time frame that you're actually forecasting for? Then machines always have operators necessary. Are the right kind of operators available? Then in terms of seasonality, do we have enough operators and machines available in that time to support the expected demand? So there's a heck of a lot that we need to really draw together in order to get a very crystal clear picture of how well are we going to be able to support the demand. So in other words, I think digital twinning, in short, is really going to create the bridge between unrestrained planning and clearly constrained planning, with the understanding that what are the constraints on the system and how do they influence it. It's also going to make people in business start thinking about their role in the business in a slightly different way. And typically, I'd like to perhaps just touch on the financial side of it. The finance people are going to have to potentially look at this a lot closer in terms of what resource, in other words, cash, can they make available to the business in order to achieve the planned demand. When I say planned demand, I can also use the word forecast. And that is really where a lot of the problems are going to hang up, and people are going to have to stop and look at this. It's really taking sales and operations planning potentially a step or two further and really integrating the company as a whole, whereby you're not looking at departments anymore. You're looking at specialized resources within the company that are going to feed into the brand promise that you make to your clients. Thank you.
Thank you, actually. Thanks for sharing. Rodrigo, Naheem, would you love to join it as well? Digital twins, would you love to comment?
Yes, Natalie. Thank you. So I think that the digital twin, as Igor and Alex mentioned, as part of this concept of having a digital representation of the enterprise. Mm-hmm. Many companies are starting to adopt this kind of platforms. So where they have the ability to have, as Igor mentioned, all these different areas in one single platform or in one single place in order to make decisions. And also with this concept of integrated business planning, where you have your marketing, your supply, your financial, and all the operations in one single platform. I think one of the concepts that these platforms are using a lot is the demand sensing. It brings me to this topic again, where these platforms are incorporating signals like weather, like social events, like COVID, for example, as an input in order to make better planning or better forecasting. So I think the historical data, it's no longer a valid way to do forecasting. We need to start incorporating all these leading indicators like promotions, having conversations with marketing. All these signals that maybe from the IoT that you are getting all the information in real time, it allows you to make better decisions, and you have the complete visibility of the business. I think that's the part of this concept from the digital twins. Natalie, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So Nahin, thanks for mentioning visibility. It's again, many sources are mentioning it as like in trend for 2022, which is also very important. And close to it is also this word multi. And if you're talking about like multi-company, multi-currency, multi-echelon planning, right? Right now, businesses want to see to have visibility and to see as much as possible at the same time at one glance. And again, can technology provide us this vision, this visibility, this multi-visibility at one, actually instantly? Is it possible? Can you help us with it, Alex?
Yes, Natalie, it's a task for technology to enable companies to be multi in many ways, like unite their companies in different countries into a single system, connect different ERP systems to a single processing engine, and manage local I would say local features of business, including currency. And of course, if you start uniting everything into a single system, that creates multi-echelon environment, often with manufacturing, distribution, and retail, multi-channel or omni-channel retail chains. So this is simply the complexity we're dealing with right now. Global trade needs managing of distributed supply chains, and that's a task for technology platforms to enable companies do multi data source, multi currency, multi echelon, and multi channel planning and execution.
Thank you so much. So, guys, would you love to wish something to all of us in 2022, considering that New Year is coming? So let's start with Rodrigo.
Thank you, Natalie. Yeah, I think as SMEs, we have a mission to accomplish during this situation and all the collateral effects. And I think I would like to summarize into 4 points. So the first one will be to be humble, right? We all have walked through a path that has taken us to this point where we have a lot of knowledge, a lot of experience. So we need to be aware that that knowledge is something that we can give to others and share to others. be empathetic. It will be the second point, right? Recognizing that there is a pain in other people that has not the luxury of having all the education that we have or the technology that we may have access to. So be empathetic with those ones that are struggling with the daily activities, because for sure this pandemic, all the delays, all the lateness, all the frustration that is happening all around, I think we can be, and on the third point, we can be resourceful. We can offer something to them. We can give an advice, a piece of advice, or helping to make things easier for any people that we know that we think that is struggling. And the last thing will be to be loyal, right? To be thankful for the organizations that have trust in us to be part of that. Or sometimes when things are not going so well, it's very easy to say this company sucks, right? Or like we don't feel like we are part of something, which is going to be another trend 2022, right? How we can make sure that the people in the supply chain feel that they belong to something. I think this will be very important. So we need to remember that as humans, our human nature is to be connected, not to be separated. So it's going to be very important to stay there to be for others. That would be my invitation to all of you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Anyway, we are all part of supply chain experts community, supply chain workers community globally, right? So we all belong to this community, guys. Let's really support each other. So please, only 10 seconds for each of you, Nahin, Igor, Alex. So Nahin, please start. 10 seconds, what you would love to wish everyone in 2022.
Yes, thank you, Natalie. As Rodrigo mentioned, be helpful to the companies and to the people, help each other. And I think now with all these changes in situations, we need to educate ourselves in these new trends that we are discussing. You know, we need to get better understanding and also incorporate these new elements to the companies or to our customers. I think is one of the things. Supply chain professional it is changing in every company. So now the supply chain is getting more visibility. So we need to be very knowledgeable and share this knowledge with all the people, I think. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing. Igor, your turn. 10 seconds.
Very briefly, I think the most important thing is our people. We need to not forget in any way to be in amongst people mutually supportive. That mutually supportiveness doesn't only go to the people within the company, but within all those outside of the company whom we deal with. We need to look at each other in a more compassionate way. And in that way, realize that the polarization that is happening on the planet today is being absolutely counterproductive. Let's work against that. And at the end of the day, that will provide a far more respectful, mutually supportive environment. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Alex, your turn, and also 10 seconds.
Thanks, Natalie. I think it's very important to do what you enjoy, and it's important to keep in focus your mission. And when you're following your mission, you always do what you enjoy. So I wish this to everyone, and have a very, very successful 2022.
Thank you so much, guys, and thank you for joining us. As I already mentioned, we will have panel discussion monthly. So next time I will see you in new 2022. Enjoy. See you next month. Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Great day.